My dividend portfolio just hit its biggest payout ever, and the numbers shocked me. Whether you own SCHD, QQQI, SPYI, or ULTY, this update shows you exactly how these ETFs can create real passive income. Let's break it down. Welcome back to Simply Money. This month, my dividend income portfolio made up of SCHD, QQQI, SPYI, and ULTY, along with a couple other small holdings, delivered the highest distribution I've ever received. In this video, I'll walk you through exactly how it happened, how much each ETF contributed, and why this update is so important if you're building your own income portfolio. Stick around until the end because I'll also share my plan to keep growing these payouts even bigger moving forward. I'm going to start here with SCHD. For those who have watched my channel before, you've seen videos on SCHD as I've done quarterly updates. You can check out some of those in the link above as well as on the channel. But I want to give a quick overview of this fund as well as the chart I'm using. And then on the other funds, I won't need to go over it quite as detailed because you'll have an overview of this one. So what I do up here is I show what the ticker is, the date I bought into it, how much I bought into it, the price I paid for it, how many shares I was able to get, and then we'll go down as we continue to reinvest and just drip those dividends, what's happened and how that's grown. I've shown the ups and downs and downturn markets in 2020, 2022, as those markets dropped and how we weathered that and what this stock actually did. But I want to just show you real quick. You can see here each month, starting out, we'll start with the dividends. You can see the dividend started out at 10 cents. Now this is adjusted for the split that took place. This is all split adjusted. Prior to the split, you could multiply this by 3 and get that split there. But you can see this distribution was 10 cents, 11 cents this first year. As we come down, we had some big years. We got up here in 15, 20 cents. And then I want to look at just this year, what's happened, and disregard these two cells for now, and I'll share with you what that is here in a moment. But as you look back on March of this year, we got a just under 25 cent, 24.8 cent, and 26 cent distribution in June. And then we just got another 26 cent distribution that will be paid out on the 29th of this month. This is just showing the growth of that in those few years. It's gone from 10, 11 cents up to now it's going 25, 26 cents each quarter. And some people struggle with SCHD because it's a quarterly pay, for one. Two, that the share price has kind of lagged over the last couple of years. It's been in a lag mode. But overall, the biggest thing with the distributions, the dividend that people like, is the dividend growth. And I show over here, year over year, what my dividend growth rate has been. So that when a 7% growth rate, look at this here, we had an almost 20% growth rate, 17% growth rate. And it shows based on that what my yield on cost is. When I bought into it, the yield was around 3.32. After these distributions, now my yield on cost is 5%. So I'm getting a yield of 5% on what I paid into it as you're reinvesting dividends. It's a really nice way of just tracking that. As we come down to the bottom, as of last year, I'm up to an 8.43% yield on cost because we had another 12% dividend growth. This year prior was lower one at 3%. When you're looking at this, you look at September, then you look at June, you're like, well, it's the same amount. But if you look at September here, and then you look at September the year before, it went up, about 1 cent per share. If you look at June, it's 26 cents. Now last June, it was 27 cents. And if you look at March, it was 20 cents in 2024. And this year it was 24 cents. So we don't know what December's going to bring. Last year it was 26.5 cents. Obviously we're hoping for December to be a little bit more than that. But we also have to remember last year we had a pretty significant dividend growth. We would love to see another 12+% growth on that. We may not. SCHD gets a lot of heat both ways. It's like I love it or I hate it. It's a foundational holding in my income portion of my portfolio. I share my income portfolio on the channel to show the growth, to show the income that it's creating. I don't show my growth portion of my portfolio. That's just something I've decided not to do at this point. But I want to show you the total value. And people have asked, like this $200,000, that was a rollover. It was put into my IRA. And when I rolled it over, that's when I ended up deciding to purchase the SCHD. It went from a 401k, 403b into this IRA. That's why there's a lump sum. A lot of people are like, how'd you do that? You can't put that much in an IRA in 1 year. It was a rollover, so yes, you can. And then I've continued to contribute to it in different ways. But just by reinvesting the dividends, you can see that value went from 200. Here we're looking at 487. But I want to show you here, because of recent changes that I'm making, that we have sold down quite a bit of this. Some of it you're going to see has gone into these other income funds and what that's doing, and part of why this income this month has been so high. And I put some of it into the growth fund because I like having a solid foundation in my growth fund for long-term growth, stuff I'm not going to touch. Again, this is my plan. What I'm doing, you have to make your own decisions. This is SCHD. This is where we're at. The value gained after taking out these is 127,000, but you can see at its peak, it was up 200 and right here, 287,000. When we were selling, it was at 269,000 up. We gained quite a few shares, showing that we're down because it's subtracting these 5,700. We're up 4,000 something shares in as far as from dividends. But even think about this, even after selling 5,700 shares, we're still up $127,000. And we've taken a big chunk of money and we're putting it into other funds. So this SCHD has done really well. Now on this month's dividend, it's a quarterly pay, but it comes in September, so it counts in the September dividend. The 26 cents times this 11,999 shares is $3,090. So that's going to be a big portion of what the overall distribution for the month is. Obviously, that only comes once a quarter. Your July and August distributions are a lot lower, and then you have the big distribution because of the big holding of SCHD that I have. That's SCHD. And at the end, so stay tuned to the end, I'm going to show you overall all the funds together and what they've done. Let's go over to the next fund here. This is a new one I just added, and as you can see, I just added it this week. WPAY, just a small portion. I want to test this out a little bit. I know a lot of people are like, I want to wait, see what happens. That's fine. I just put a very small portion in here. This is my cost. I've got 49 shares, and then it just paid its first dividend. To me, it had paid a dividend the week prior. I just missed that. I was kind of hemming and hawing. Should I do it? Shouldn't I? And I did it, which is fine. It's not a big deal. So I got a 51-cent dividend on this 49 shares, which paid out $24.99, which was able to buy another half share. Now I'm up to 49.47 shares. This shows value gained, obviously, after a few days. I don't really care. We love seeing green, but short term, you're going to see red, you're going to see green. It goes up and down. Did want to flip back real quick to SCHD and just show you that with this dividend, I'll be purchasing. And I put the price in close today. It won't actually be purchasing until it pays out next week, Monday, but this is the distribution amount. I wanted to make the video for you. So I'll adjust this, but it's going to be pretty close to this. So we're going to buy another 112 shares that'll go into here and just continue to build up this portfolio with that. That's what we did with WPAY. We had the dividend reinvested, and I'm going to be reinvesting this for a while and building up the number of shares I have with WPAY as I watch that. Another one that's been added, you can see here's YBTC. Added a small portion of that. We're looking at $7,000 there. Got us 152 shares. It paid its first distribution to us at 41 cents, so that paid $62.56. So we bought another 1.4 shares as we continue to drip that into the fund. That's what WPAY has done. Now, YBTC is done. Now we're going to go to BTCI. This is another new holding. I have several new holdings, as you can see, as I took some of that SCHD and I've shifted it over as I'm focusing more, getting ready for the income portion of using my portfolio. Again, same amount of dollars here as YBTC, paid at $60.46, got 115 shares, and that paid $1.34 in dividends. And that is a $154 dividend payment. Dividing that by today's stock price, we'll add 2.6 more shares to that. And again, so we're just starting this just like we did with SCHD. And you can see that going flipping back over here 8 years later, what it's done. I don't know if I'll hold these for 8 years or not, but we're going to be showing this each month, how they're doing, and then the quarterly big updates with SCHD. You saw BTCI, and then those that have watched the channel, those are my 3 newer additions since my last update is WPAY, YBTC, and BTCI. I've also, from prior videos, I have QQQI, which I got into in July. We put in 20,000 on that, gave us 396 shares. We've had several dividends, 64 cents, 63 cents, and then our newest one is again 64 cents. As you can see, because of the reducing of SCHD, bought in some more on this. We're up to $64,000 in value. We've invested $60,000. This dividend this month, this week, just paid us $743. That's going to buy us 13.61 more shares as we continue to snowball these quantities of shares to continue to snowball this dividend payment. And I will probably add some more to this down the road as I continue to try to balance different funds as they grow, and we'll see how that goes. I have buys in here as well as dividends. It's not quite as clean as the SCHD one was, but I do want to show you where I added those buys instead of just having the dividend and then you seeing these huge jumps and wondering where'd that come from. That's all that is me making purchases and where we're at. Another one that you've seen before is the SPYI. Again here, bought in back in July, about $12,600. Got 248 shares there. We've had a couple dividends from there. July, 51 cents. August, 52 cents. And then September, 53 cents. Again, several buys here. You can see the quantities that I've bought. Continued to build up that portion of my fund. And so this latest dividend for September is $580.72. We'll buy 11 more shares with that, bringing our total up to 1,112, almost 1,113 shares. That $580 has been added to the monthly distribution. Now, the one that a lot of you have been waiting for is the ULTY, ULTY. Where are we at with this one? All right, so a lot of action going on here. This is being a weekly payer along with YBTC and WPAY. Those are so new, there's only one in there for the month, but next month there'll be several of those in there as well. But with ULTY, ULTY, we bought in at $5,000, 787 shares, and we bought some more down in August. We continued dollar cost averaging as it had dropped a little bit. We got in. I know it's below that now, but we're getting this dividend 10 cents throughout July and August, and then September is pretty much held at the 9 cents each week. And our latest dividend was $367, which is our largest ULTY dividend thus far. Even though it's a little lower in the dividend payment, the overall distribution of $367 is up, even with a $5.62 price, because we've gained our quantity of shares here. And you can see how many we've added by doing this. 530 shares. It doesn't count the buys. It only counts when dividends reinvest. That's the gained shares out of the total shares. The rest were bought into. Now, the share price is down just under 12%, but the total growth is at 5.2%, and our gain is about $1,100. So I'm definitely in the green on this, which I'm happy about, being so new into this one, and it's fresh, and it did have a rough August. You can see from July it went from 627 and it got down into the 550 range, and it came back up the last couple weeks. It's kind of hanging in here right now, so we'll be curious to see what happens if we can get another little uptick. But we like seeing this consistent 9-cent distribution. Here's just a quick overview of each of the funds. You got all the funds right here, the number of shares I have, the current share price, how much it pays annually in dividends based on the trailing 12 months, or if there's not a trailing 12 months, I take whatever there is and I average it out for the year. So I'll make adjustments to this as the dividends and distributions change. With WPAY, I have 2 distributions, so it may drop drastically, it may go up. Where something like ULTY, I'm going since the weekly distribution, I take that number of weeks, I put that into a year and divide it to see what it actually would be on an average for a year. And so that's what right now we're averaging. And I break it down monthly. And then this is the total value of the income portion of the portfolio. So this is what's driving the income portion. And I know a lot of people are like, get rid of SCHD. Look how much more you can make. Like at $325,000 is making $1,000 a month, and $22,000 is making $1,600 a month. And a lot of people are all in on these like ultra incomes, or even these higher incomes like QQQI and SPYI. And as I get closer to using it, I may bump those allocations up from SCHD, or maybe from my growth portion, pull some more over and throw into some of these and maybe some other funds. I do have a couple more funds that I'm adding this week, which will be on next month. So I'll share that in the next update. So look forward to seeing those. If there's a fund you think I should look into, leave me a comment down below. Now, one more thing I want to show you as we kind of close this up. This is September. This is just my tracking chart that I use. Again, it shows the pay date and it shows the symbol of what paid. So you can see this broken down. ULTY, because I had it for the full month, I got the 4 payments. WPAY I only had for the week. YBTC only for the week, so I only have 1. Where next month I'll have multiple of those. But I won't have SCHD next month or November because that's a quarterly pay. But you can see the grand total for the month is $6,103. You can look here and see each fund, its total for the month. So this is just me. This is what I do. I geek out on these charts and graphs. I like doing this. I track it each month so I can look back at it. And I have the cumulative here. You can see, obviously, before I switched out of a lot of the SCHD, had some JEPQ for those that remember from prior videos. So I would get a little bit in the off months and then I'd get my bigger distribution from SCHD. But now as you look, and this is part of what I'm enjoying, is even though this quarterly hasn't gone up a ton, because even though I've sold out a lot of the SCHD, look at what's happened. In July, I added a few and it went up significantly, but look at what happened in August. And just wait till you see October. It's going to be above this. Won't be this high, but October will be up in here because I've reduced the SCHD holding. But in doing that, I'm excited to see that even the quarterly, by reducing SCHD, is still higher. Yet now my off months, my non-quarterly months, are going to be much higher as well. We'll see this as it finishes out this year. And then next year, we'll have a full year to see the growth with these income portfolios. So that's what I've done. That's the update. This is the overall income portion of the portfolio. Tell me what you think. Is there another fund you want me to look at? Is there a fund that you're looking at that you'd like to see a review of? What do you think about some of the moves I've made? Give me your opinion on that. I'm always curious on people's take. I'm not going to do what you say necessarily, but I do take the things you say and I look into them. You're going to have to make your decision. I'll make my decision. Personal finances are personal. Remember, this is for educational, informational purposes only. I do appreciate you being with me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Simply Money.